If you're looking for a relaxing audio to fall into a deep sleep with soft storytelling, gentle drama, and a touch of narrated romance, then get cozy and discover The Mystery of the Golden Box. The Mystery of the Golden Box. A gentle, touching story full of secrets. In a peaceful little town called São Clemente lives Dona Elvira, a sweet old lady with snow-white hair and eyes that hold the secrets of time. Everyone knows her for the warm cake, the porch coffee, but no one imagines what she hides inside a mysterious golden box, locked with a tiny key and kept in the wardrobe of her room. What has Dona Elvira been hiding all these years? Could it be a memory of love, a family secret, or something that could change everything? Get ready to be moved by a delicate narrative filled with affection, nostalgia, and mystery. A story to warm your heart, make you reflect, and dream. Press play, get cozy, and come uncover the mystery of the Golden Box. A story for those who treasure secrets kept by time. Subscribe to the channel for more soft, inspiring stories filled with emotion. Comment below. What do you think is inside the Golden Box? Leave a like if this story touched your heart. In the small town of São Clemente, where the mornings smelled of fresh bread and the afternoons seemed to stretch on just to watch the sunset, lived Dona Elvira, a gentle lady with hair as white as cotton, always tied in a low bun, and honey-colored, eyes that knew how to keep secrets. Dona Elvira lived alone in an old house with blue window frames and handmade lace curtains. The house sat on the corner of Violet Street and was known for always having a hot coffee pot and a slice of cake waiting for a visitor. Though the walls of her house held solitude, outside them Elvira was surrounded by affection. The neighbors greeted her with warmth. The town's young people helped her carry her grocery bags, and the children loved to listen to her stories. She used to say she had no grandchildren, but that she had adopted the entire town as her family. Dona Elvira's routine was simple and sweet. In the morning, she watered the fern and rosemary pots that decorated her porch. Then she would sit in the living room armchair, embroidery in her lap, listening to old songs on the radio. In the afternoon, she read her favorite books or walked to the bakery to buy a still warm loaf of bread. At night, she lit a candle in her little prayer corner and prayed softly, like someone having a quiet conversation with someone only she could see. But there was one detail about Dona Elvira that few people knew. Inside the wardrobe in her bedroom, among lavender-scented linens and old photographs, there was a golden box. It wasn't very big, but its aged shine stood out. The lid was smooth, with no inscriptions. It was locked with a tiny key that Elvira always wore on a necklace she never took off. No one knew what was inside. Some said it was a family heirloom. Others believed it held letters from a long-lost love. But everyone felt, without knowing why, that the box held something far too precious to ever be forgotten. And only Elvira knew why. Long before she became the gentle lady with slow steps and a warm smile who now lives in the house on the corner, Elvira was a barefoot girl with a curious soul, running through cornfields in the countryside, her hair dancing in the wind. She was born on a simple farm, surrounded by mountains and stories told by lamplight. The middle child of 5 siblings, she learned early on that love could live in small gestures: a piece of bread shared, a river bath taken together, a lullaby sung by her mother on rainy days. Her father was a stern but fair man who taught her the value of both words and land. Her mother, sweet as the fig jam she made every weekend, taught her how to pray and how to listen to the silence. Elvira grew up watching the seasons change, animals being born and time moving slowly, as if the world itself respected the pace of childhood. In her youth, she went to the big city to study teaching. She was dedicated, dreamy, and loved writing poems in hidden notebooks. A young man with green eyes, Augusto, stole her heart during a school recital. They exchanged letters for months, met on Sundays at the church square, and made promises Elvira would never forget. But life, with its tender harshness, doesn't always follow the dreams of those in love. Augusto was called to serve far away, in a distant war. He never returned. That was when Elvira began to collect memories, small pieces of life filled with feeling. Photos, letters, dried flower petals. Things that had no value to the world, but to her were priceless treasures. She never married, never wanted to. She said her heart had found its home in just one place. Instead, she chose to teach, to care for the town's children, to tell stories with sparkling eyes and gentle hands. She became a presence, a voice that comforted and soothed. And so the years passed. Her parents passed on, and so did her siblings. She was left alone, but never lonely. In her memories, she found a way to keep living tenderly. And in a golden box, she began to gather the most precious things life had given her: moments, secrets, emotions. A box meant to be opened only when the heart was ready, or when the past came knocking at the door. Ms. Elvira had been living alone for many years. Her house, with blue-painted windows and lace curtains, sat right on the corner of the main street, where people tended to walk slowly, almost as if they didn't want to disturb the peace that flowed from within. It was a simple home, but always blooming with flowers on the windowsills and filled with the constant scent of cake baking in the oven. Neighbors called it the house that hugs, because everyone who stepped inside left with a lighter soul. Elvira always rose early, as she always had. By 6 o'clock, she was already on her feet, the kettle warming on the stove, and birds singing in the backyard. Her breakfast was always accompanied by an old radio that played songs from her youth. She would sit at the table with a small notebook and jot down little thoughts, sometimes verses, other times memories. The town was small, the kind where everyone knows each other by name and by story, and Ms. Elvira was loved by all. The baker left fresh bread on her porch without ever asking for payment. The school children stopped by to get candy and hear a quick story before class. And on Saturday afternoons, there was always someone knocking at her door with a potted flower or a homemade apple pie. Despite her peaceful routine, there was one room in the house that few people had ever seen. A small room at the end of the hallway, where she kept a dark wooden chest, an old armchair, and a box, a golden box, with a tiny heart-shaped clasp. The box wasn't new. Its gold finish had begun to fade around the edges, and yet it still shone like a well-kept secret. No one knew what was inside, and Elvira never spoke of it. Sometimes at night, she would take the box from that room and rest it gently on her lap. She'd sit there in silence, tracing the lid with her fingers. It was as if every touch transported her to places only she had ever known. That week, something felt different. Elvira seemed more thoughtful. She let her tea grow cold in her hands and spent more time sitting on the porch, gazing at the sky. Then, one Thursday afternoon, while tidying the bookshelf in the living room, she came across an old envelope that had slipped out from between the pages of a book. She opened it gently, as if it were made of glass. She read slowly, line by line. And then, with eyes full of tears, she rose and walked down the hallway to that quiet little room. "It's time, my dear box," she whispered. "It's time to tell the truth." And just like that, the mystery began to breathe. Ms. Elvira sat down in the little room's armchair, just like she had done so many times before. But that afternoon, something in the air felt different. Maybe it was the scent of time, or maybe it was courage. With trembling hands, she undid the tiny heart-shaped clasp. The box gave a soft click as it opened, as if it too had been waiting for that moment for a very long time. Inside were small objects, wrapped in delicate fabrics and marked by loving care. Each item seemed to carry a fragment of Elvira's soul. The first thing she took out was a tiny leather shoe, a child's shoe, worn but still strong. She held it as if it were made of glass. "From my younger brother, Joachim," she whispered. Elvira remembered her childhood, the little house where she had grown up with her parents and 5 siblings. She remembered the smell of fresh bread, the games in the backyard, and the simple joy of being a child in a world without hurry. Joachim had been the sweetest of them all, but a high fever, in a time when doctors were far and few, took the boy far too soon. That tiny shoe was all that remained, and all she needed to remember that loving also means losing. The second item was a faded photograph, its corners creased, but its heart still alive. It showed a young couple dancing at a local festival. Elvira's dress swirled in the air, and her eyes sparkled brighter than the string lights above. "Antonio," she said, with a bittersweet smile. The great love of her youth. A love that burned bright, but was never meant to be. Her parents disapproved, and they were torn apart by distance, lost letters, and the weight of choices that only time can explain. Antonio married someone else, and Elvira carried on with her life. She never saw him again, but she never forgot him. Finally, Elvira reached for the last item, a sealed letter with her name handwritten on the front. It wasn't her own handwriting. She recognized it instantly. It was from her daughter, Ana Clara. Yes, Elvira had a daughter. And that was the secret no one in town ever knew. Ana Clara was born from a love that didn't survive the harshness of life. Still young and alone, Elvira raised her daughter until she was 10. Then, under circumstances she never forgave herself for, she had to leave the girl in the care of distant relatives in another city. She never saw her again, never heard news. The pain was so deep that Elvira stopped speaking of her, and, in time, everyone around her came to believe she had never had children. But that letter, written by Ana Clara many years ago, had arrived by mail the day after Elvira returned home from heart surgery. She had never found the courage to open it. Now, with the golden box open, the memories exposed, and the past beating louder than ever, Ms. Elvira chose to break the final silence. With frail but determined hands, she opened the envelope. Inside were just a few lines. "Mama, I searched for you for so long. I hope this letter finds you well. I love you. I forgive you. I want to see you. Ana Clara." Elvira burst into tears, but it wasn't sorrow, it was freedom. After so many years of hiding her pain in silence, she finally felt there was still time. Time to reunite, to explain, to love again. The golden box, for so long a keeper of memories, was now a bridge to the future. And Ms. Elvira knew. The mystery had never been in the objects, but in the love that endured through time. The next day, the golden box remained open on the table. Ana Clara's letter stayed there, as if it were a window into a time that could still be lived. Mrs. Elvira woke up early. She drank her black coffee, stronger than usual. And instead of sitting down to sew or tend to her plants, she put on her navy blue dress, the one she always wore on important occasions, and headed to the town square. The town's bandstand was still empty. The morning wind gently swayed the church bells, and the smell of freshly baked bread from Mrs. Teresa's oven spread through the street. Elvira walked to Marcelo's small stationery shop, a young man who had grown up just 2 blocks from her house. He saw her coming in and smiled warmly. "Mrs. Elvira, what an honor to have you here. Are you buying more birthday cards?" "No, my dear," she replied gently. "Today, I came to ask for help." With the letter in her hands, Elvira told, for the first time, the story she had kept locked inside her for so long. Marcelo listened quietly. When she finished, he simply said, "We're going to find your daughter." The news spread quickly. Within hours, the whole town seemed to beat as one heart. Ms. Cecilia, the computer teacher, helped. Elvira created a social media profile. Father John, moved by the story, read a passage from the letter during Sunday's sermon, asking for prayers for the reunion. Even the young people who usually spent their afternoons hanging out in the square organized themselves to share the message online. A poster was made with an old photo of Elvira and the phrase, "Looking for a daughter. Name, Ana Clara. A mother's love awaits." Meanwhile, Mrs. Elvira tried to handle the whirlwind of emotions. Sometimes she laughed alone. Other times, she quietly cried. But above all, she felt hope. A hope she had believed lost for so long. Visits increased. People brought cakes, flowers, and memories from her youth. Elvira's house, once so silent, now pulsed with voices, footsteps, stories, and affection. This town has always cared for me. Even without knowing everything, she once told a neighbor, her eyes brimming with tears. But now it embraces me whole. And as if the universe had heard that collective embrace one Friday afternoon, Marcelo entered Elvira's house, phone trembling in his hand. "Mrs. Elvira, I think we found your daughter." She felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. The world paused for a moment. On the screen, a woman with light brown hair, gentle features, and eyes so much like hers stared steadily into the camera. Message received. My mother's name was Elvira, and she wore blue dresses. Elvira brought her hands to her face. Tears fell like rain on dry earth. Ana Clara. In the small town, the bells began to ring. But it wasn't the scheduled time. It was hope making noise. The train station had never felt so alive. Mrs. Elvira, wearing the same navy blue dress, now carried flowers in her hands. The daisies were carefully chosen. They were her mother's favorite, and according to her memory, they had also been the flowers she used in little Ana Clara's hair accessories. The whole town seemed to hold its breath. It wasn't a crowd. It was hearts beating together. Daniel, Mrs. Teresa's grandson, had offered his car. Marcelo went along. Miss Cecilia brought a white lace handkerchief that had belonged to her grandmother for Elvira to wear around her neck. It was as if everyone wanted to leave a small gift on the altar of this moment. The train whistled in the distance, and when the train door opened, it was as if time slipped quietly, reverently, honoring the most important moment in that woman's life. Ana Clara stepped down with timid footsteps, her hair tied in a simple bun, her hands nervously clutching the strap of her bag. But her eyes knew exactly where to find Elvira's. For a second, neither of them moved. Then, Elvira released the flowers. They fell to the ground like a blessing. Ana Clara ran, and it was as if all the years turned into wind. The pain, the distances, the silences, all vanished as they embraced. A long hug, trembling, true, from those who searched for each other in dreams, who prayed every night for the other's well-being, from those who survived the ache of longing. "Mom," Ana Clara said, her voice trembling. Elvira only squeezed her tighter. She kissed her forehead, just like she used to when she was little. "Daughter, you're home now." That afternoon, Elvira's house seemed to have grown. Everything inside was warmth and welcome. Ana Clara touched the objects gently, like someone rediscovering pieces of herself. And then, the golden box. Elvira led her daughter to the living room. They sat side by side, and she opened it once again. She showed every letter, every photo, every little piece of memory she had kept so lovingly. "I waited for you with love, not with bitterness," she said tenderly. Ana Clara cried quietly, holding a letter written in a child's handwriting. "Mommy, I love you to the sky." Later that night, they sat at the table with a simple cake and freshly brewed coffee. The sun had already set, but the light coming from the house felt new. And for the first time in many years, Mrs. Elvira closed the golden box with a sigh of peace. She looked at Ana Clara, then at the box. "Now, daughter, this box is yours too. We'll fill it together with the days to come, because some mysteries aren't in what the box hides, but in what it keeps with love." Ana Clara had come into Mrs. Elvira's life on a yellow late afternoon when the leaves on the trees had already started to fall, and the wind carried that smell of wet earth that announces change. The town was quieter back then. The war out. It made many afraid to travel. And that's why Elvira noticed the little girl sitting alone on the bench at the station, hugging a rag doll. She must have been about 6 years old, her hair tangled and her eyes held the sadness of someone who had already lost too much. "Where's your mother, dear?" Elvira asked, kneeling down slowly. "She went to catch the train. Said she'd come back," Ana Clara answered, her voice soft. "But it's been 2 days." Elvira felt her heart tighten. She asked for help at the station, spoke with the authorities, waited another 2 days, but no one came. That was when, for the first time, she brought the girl home. It was supposed to be temporary. But when Ana Clara fell asleep, hugging the doll with a sigh of relief, Elvira understood. True love doesn't ask if it's forever. It just happens. The adoption was made official months later, with the help of the parish priest and the social worker from the neighboring town. And Ana Clara grew up there, among corn cakes, afternoons on the porch, and nights of storytelling by the fireplace. But time, as always, changes everything. In her teenage years, Ana Clara started asking difficult questions about her biological mother, about why she had been left behind. Elvira tried to explain gently, but the emptiness in the girl's chest was deeper than she could reach. At 18, Ana Clara decided to leave. She said she needed to search for answers, find her origin, understand her beginning. Elvira, with a broken heart, only said, "I'm not holding you here. My love goes with you, wherever you go." And so it was. Letters came in the early years, then stopped. Silence turned into pain. But Elvira never stopped waiting. She created the golden box shortly after Ana Clara left, putting inside everything that reminded her of Ana Clara. Drawings, childhood letters, photos, and even the little pink ribbon she wore in her hair when she arrived at the station. The box became memory, and memory became hope. Now, sitting side by side, mother and daughter remembered it all, with more maturity, more understanding, more love. Ana Clara told what she had lived through, jobs in different cities, people who passed through her life, attempts to find her biological mother, who had unfortunately passed away several years ago. "In the end, I was looking for something that had always been mine," she said, holding Elvira's hand. "I was looking for you." Elvira smiled, and this time, the tears that fell were tears of relief. "So now, my dear, you don't have to look anymore. Love has found you again." And that night, for the first time in many years, Ana Clara slept in her old room, with the golden box by her bedside, no longer a mystery, but a treasure chest of love patiently kept. The morning sun spread a golden glow across the curtains of Dona Elvira's house. It was as if the world had awakened with a little more lightness that day. Ana Clara woke up early, with the smell of fresh coffee filling the air and the familiar sound of birds at the window. For a moment, she thought it had all been a dream. But when she saw the golden box on the little table beside the bed, she smiled. She was home. After the emotional reunion, Ana Clara wasn't in a hurry to leave. The days passed by, and she rediscovered the scents, the paths, and the faces of the small town where she had grown up. People who had known her since she was a child greeted her warmly, as if nothing had changed. "Did you come back to stay, Ana Clara?" they asked, their eyes shining, and the answer, once uncertain, began to take shape. Yes, she had come back, not just to visit, but to live, to care, to give back. Over time, she started helping Dona Elvira with the sweet orders. Then she began visiting the local nursing home, telling stories to the children at the library, and, little by little, she was planting affection where there had only been longing before. The house, once silent, began to vibrate again with laughter, the smell of cake baking, and long conversations on the porch. The golden box, which had held only memories for so long, now held new stories. Recent photos, notes left by neighborhood children, a dried flower Ana Clara had received from a little girl named Bia, who said, "You smell like a mother's hug," and that both hurt and healed at the same time. One rainy afternoon, Ana Clara looked at Dona Elvira and said, "I want to turn this house into something bigger. I want other children like I once was to find here a temporary home, or maybe a forever home." Elvira smiled, her eyes full of tears. May the house with a full heart become a house with open doors. And so was born the project they called Casa da Aurora, a place to welcome children in situations of abandonment with affection, patience, and stories told by the stove. The first child arrived 2 months later, shy, with a torn backpack and scared eyes. And Ana Clara knew exactly how to welcome that silence. On the first night, she gave the girl a warm blanket, a glass of warm milk, and showed her the golden box. "Inside here we keep good memories," she said. "You can make your own little box too if you want." The girl smiled for the first time. And so the mystery of the golden box stopped being just about the past. It became about the future, about what can blossom when love decides to stay. Time passed like a gentle breeze, scattering leaves and changing the landscape of the small town, but never erasing its scents, its traditions, or the names that had blossomed there. Ana Clara now had streaks of gray in her hair, but the same sparkle in her eyes as when she first arrived in town with a suitcase and a broken heart. The Casa da Aurora was now a well-known, respected, and beloved home. Many children had passed through its doors and found more than shelter. They found belonging. That autumn afternoon, Ana Clara was putting the finishing touches on the special closing ceremony for the month of welcoming. The breeze carried the scent of orange cake from the kitchen, and the leaves danced in the yard as if celebrating along. Sitting in her rocking chair, Ana Clara watched the curious faces of the children gathered before her. Among them was Sophia, a 12-year-old girl, calm and intelligent, who had lived there for nearly 2 years. And now, after so many waits, she was about to receive the news that she had been adopted by a family who loved her deeply. Ana Clara approached, holding something wrapped in white linen fabric. "Sophia, come here, my dear," she said, her voice thick with emotion. The girl came to her, eyes wide, and a shy smile on her lips. Ana Clara held her small hands and gave her the bundle. Inside, "This box," she began, "are memories of mine. Memories of my childhood, my mother, my silences. For a long time, it held my pain, my longing. Later, it held the beautiful things time gave me, and now it will hold yours." Sophia unwrapped it slowly. It was the golden box, made of old wood, with little flowers carved on the sides and a subtle shine. Sophia opened it and found just a small note inside. "Love does not erase who we were. It transforms who we will be." Sophia looked up, moved. "Now it's your turn," Ana Clara said, smiling gently. "Fill this box with whatever you want to remember. Notes, dreams, poems, dried leaves, good secrets. And if someday someone needs shelter, maybe you will share your box too." The sun began to set, casting a soft golden light through the trees. Ana Clara sat back down in her rocking chair, and for a moment she saw it. Dona Elvira, in the same spot she always sat, smiling silently, as if to say, "You did well, my daughter." The golden box, now in Sophia's hands, lived on, because some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be passed on,